Ah, well, good morning, everyone. It's Friday, February 10th. Looks like a little bit of a smaller crowd today, so not sure what's going up on with the notifications, but nonetheless, we're here. Excited to talk about Lyft, which is down 30%. Sorry to any Lyft bulls, but it was really nice seeing some guy buy like 3,700 puts, $11 puts on Lyft. So very excited to see where he ends up, but that's over $1 million. So not a bad haul at all. I wonder if anyone else here was playing Lyft. So let's get into that.
Yeah, sure. Excited about that for sure. Also excited because PayPal looks like it's breathing a little bit. But yeah, I'm excited to hear everyone talk about AI again for another week. So kidding aside, welcome. It's Friday. Nothing else really to say except for, yeah, Lyft. I'd never heard of them. Who is that?
Lyft is the Uber competitor.
Well, you're in Japan, I don't think Lyft serves. Lyft, think of Lyft as Grab. I think Grab is in Japan.
Yeah, no, I saw Diddy the other day and Uber. Lyft, yeah, I just don't know them. Sorry.
That's fine. I believe they're exclusively US, or at least North America.
So whenever I get a lift, I always notice it's like the people driving the lifts are often pretty strange in comparison to like Ubers. So like they always have like the cars are not as good and stuff like that. And I don't know if they do as much vetting as they do with Uber when it comes to the drivers, to be honest.
I will say, when I was in Florida in October, I had to use Lyft, and most of the drivers down there, I think it's mostly a Florida issue. A lot of them didn't speak English. The cars were nice, though.
I think we've all at some point taken a car share ride. But yeah, this is more about financials of the stock, so which apparently are
What
not
was
doing so well.
I
What was
guess I have a question
surprising?
though, maybe regarding to finances, if anyone knows, because Lyft they partner with Chase, right? Like for this card thing, and one of the other airlines, I think. Have they mentioned that at all? Is that actually paying off?
Apparently not, because the standardized earnings are minus $1.50 per share, when the expected earnings was 12 cents a share. I still don't know what was driving the majority of these
So it's
expenses.
really far off.
The fact that it surprised the market this much, I'm impressed. And I kind of wish I didn't put so aggressive an entry price on the puts for yesterday's plays.
Did you get in at all, or just
No.
less?
The price
Oh.
never got to 80 cents, which was my target entry price.
Yeah, it happens.
I know.
Well,
Not that
at
anyone.
least you didn't sell cash secured puts.
Yeah, never at the top of a range.
Not that anyone really cares, but Canadian unemployment came in below expectation. Consensus was 5.1%, came in at 5%.
Yeah,
So
but
for
that's a
anyone,
rounding error, right?
Canada or
The 0.1% in what was it, unemployment? Like, how many people
Yep.
does that represent?
Well, it is hockey season up there, so a lot of
It is Canada, so it's like what, 3?
Not what I mean. So, like, what's Canada's population?
30, 40 million, 40 million.
Okay, so 0.1% of the working age, let's call it 10 million. So that's
That seems very high. Oh, the working population is 10 million? Sure.
yeah, 0.1%
So
of
100,000.
millions. That's 10,000 people.
Oh, 10,000. Oops.
10,000. Well, incrementally 10,000 more people who were added to the unemployment statistic. So they
So
give you
there's 15 million, so it's just a 50% increase on your estimate, essentially.
okay, so 15,000, but that's the incremental unexpected. So relative nothing burger. If it were closer to like a million unexpected unemployed, That would probably move markets.
Fair enough. Just wanted to be proud of my country, okay?
You can.
So,
Yes, look at your flying collection of silver Olympic medals.
Very nice. All right.
Damn.
Hey, I just want to say I'm looking to talk about some plays real quick, if that's okay. I'm looking at AAL, American Airlines. Looking to go on the put side for them. Go on the 16.5 zero DTEs. And then also looking at the banking sector. You guys know I love my banks. In particular, I like Bank of America. They got downgraded yesterday, which was quite interesting. Didn't really respond to that. But there's some downward movement for them today as well. So I'll be buying some puts for them. And might check out this Lyft thing you guys are talking about. Pretty sure I don't care. So I'm probably going to buy some Diddy calls just because Lyft is bearish. And this whole Netflix thing, I'm confused about because the password sharing articles came out like a long time ago. And I know there's some sentiment that the Netflix password sharing is a negative thing, but I would argue that it's not really being taken like in effect. Like there's no proof that people are actually getting out of their accounts. So I think it's a lot of speculative, but I digress. I still think they're strong, and I don't think Disney holds weight with them on production. But yeah, tell me I'm wrong.
Well, not specifically on Netflix, but I do want to point out, just as a heads up, American Airlines Delta Neutral is 16.14. So I don't know how much downside you have unless you expect the price to really punch through to like the 15s.
Oh, it's going to punch through. I'm looking for a 15 today. If not, it will happen in 2 weeks, of course.
And because you asked for it, you're wrong.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I need to hear that. So who had earnings yesterday? That was surprising.
Lyft.
It's the only thing?
Pretty much. It's the only headline in the financial news.
Cloudflare had a nice print yesterday. I think they're up like a lot %.
They went from 58 to 64, so $6.
Yeah. Yeah. Guidance was really good. They're one of these like quote unquote unprofitable growth tech stocks, but they're actually extremely well run. So they're turning profits a couple quarters in a row now. Projecting free cash flow positive this year. Guidance was really strong. And they made some pretty good acquisitions. Area 51, email security acquisitions, doing pretty well for them. They got FedRAMP certified, which, if anyone knows about that, takes a long time. Kind of a big deal. So they're actually securing the .gov domains now. It's like a $7.5 billion 5-year deal. Yeah, really bullish call as far as I could tell. Nice print. Yeah, just all around really exciting.
I do want to point out for Cloudflare, while their reported earnings were 6 cents a share, if you adjust it for GAAP, it's minus 14. So just keep that in mind. We might see a little bit of downsies today.
So in other news that people probably don't care about, the UK narrowly avoided a recession by having 0% growth over Christmas, in the run up to Christmas. So, yeah.
Anybody had puts on Ford? It dropped like a rock so far.
I thought that was Chevy's saying, like a rock.
Well, I don't know. Ford is about to become Chevy too.
I saw what you did there.
Is this because of the dividend?
No, they're mostly basing it on the earnings that was done last week. But there's no new news as to the explanation on this. There is this article from Barron saying Ford
The
stock
X
is
date
falling.
is today. The dividend
What?
X date is today. So basically, today is the
Oh.
yesterday was the last day. What was it 2 days ago? 2 or 3 days ago was the last day that you could buy Ford shares to qualify for the 80-cent dividend. And now that the X date has passed or has come upon us, there is no longer need to hold the collateral. So I think that's what's causing the drop.
It has a huge impact because it's down like 5% so
It's
far.
down by about 80 cents, right?
Yeah, that's already jumping back up pre-market.
Yeah, it's down 75 cents pre-market, which is the dividend.
Yeah, so I think there's your reasoning. Because earnings was a couple days ago.
That's what happens when your wife gets your 401k. It's now your ex-dividend. Sorry.
Also, rumor has it, Iger is going to sell Hulu. To whom, we don't know yet.
Yeah, he spoke on Squawk Box this morning. He's they're seeking out options, so that means they're going to be selling it.
I thought Hulu was the #1 streaming platform. Is that not true?
Depends by what metric you're counting. Every streaming platform calls themselves #1, but you have to understand the context.
Wait, so Disney's gone from talking about fully acquiring Hulu to now selling it?
I think they already did acquire Hulu. Now they're trying to, get their money back. What else? Adidas is down mainly because of a potential write-off from the Yeezy brand. It's unclear if the $750 million write-off is all that will be written off, and more importantly, if they can get that back with any of the other up-and-coming brands.
Yeah, Adidas is not doing very good with that. They are off in the foreign market than in ours. The other story this morning was Russia looking to cut back about 500,000 barrels of production of oil in protest of the cap on their price.
Oh darn, who's gonna buy the Russian oil?
So many choices.
Expedia reported, and worse than expected, but still profitable. Booking.com moved in sympathy with Expedia's outcome, so it's entirely possible their earnings due February 23 will have a different effect.
Hardy, if this news is really true about this whole Netflix thing, chicken end dinner win-win, said Canada Netflix did do the sharing thing. I logged in yesterday and had a notification stating every device accessing this Netflix account will have to be on the same Wi-Fi. Quite frankly, I watch Netflix on my TV and then I go outside on my phone, obviously using mobile data. Do you think this is a hard play for them? Like they're going to keep this up? And yeah.
It can probably be defeated. Plenty of smart people out there who can figure out how they're detecting it.
So stay tuned to the internet to figure out how to beat Netflix.
Yesterday, I noticed when NVIDIA topped out at pretty much at high that they were ready for a drop-off. I took a put position in it for the 10th, today. It went up 100%. I sold half. Went up almost 200%, but it was at a key resistance level from going up, not a key one, just a resistance level from when it was heading up. I got out for about 180% on the other half. Watched it for about 45 minutes, saw it wasn't going to break it. Grabbed more NVIDIA puts for today. I grabbed 220s. It's 218 or 217 last I checked this morning. I believe there's more downward trend. I'm going to be watching Tesla today. Even though they've dropped off about 10 points from their high, I think they have a little more room today. I will be watching, and I'll try to get on when I get to work and get the resistance levels for me. That's going to test. If it tests the first resistance level doesn't go through on the upside, I will be buying puts for Tesla data today.
Wow, killer job on that, man. What can I ask him?
Well played.
Can you ask what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
How many bags you got? Do you go in size with this thing?
I didn't catch that.
Did you
How many
make a
bags
lot
do you
of
have?
money?
I don't have any bags of Tesla, if that's what you're asking. I just play zero DTEs and a lot of next week calls and puts. I really don't hold stocks too much.
I believe if you were asking how many bags he had, he was up 100%, sold half, and then sold the other half for 180%. That's what I grabbed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what I sold. And the other ones I sold half for 100, the 220s. I still have the other half. I held them overnight, and like I said, I think I'm gonna watch them through the day. I think at least by noon I might be getting rid of them. I expect some type of stoppage to the pullback, but it is possible that we have a total downward day. I think, if I remember right, NVIDIA's max pain is probably about $4 away. Tesla's max pain is 190. That's why I'm watching it. I really think Tesla has a downward day, and I will be watching that intently because I think there's money to be made there with puts.
Oh, another bearish news for Disney. They're getting sued over American Idol. And it is a class action lawsuit, and basically, I don't think it's going to go anywhere, so it's not all that bearish. But if it does, by some miracle, get awarded damages, it would basically mean that they owe every American Idol contestant back wages.
My initial reaction is that this is yet another one of those ambulance chaser law firms trying to do a class action. I've pretty much stopped listening or paying any attention if a company gets sued, unless it's by another company or, part of some regulatory action.
Getting sued isn't really an event, it's losing a lawsuit.
Yeah, let's not forget the lovely thing about America is as long as you have a couple $100, you can just go file your papers and sue anybody and everybody you want.
Hey guys, I had a question about
It's more than that's just the filing fees. That doesn't even include the lawyer.
That is true.
Unless you want to do it pro se, in which case you're guaranteed to lose.
if I could butt in, I was looking at the the AMC FAR options, and they look really weird. So it's if you're buying a call for next week for it's around the $3 mark. It looks weird. It's like 130, but if you're buying it for next year, it's like 170. And it's like that for a lot of the options that are a few months out. It seems like it's expected that it will go down to about $3. Is anyone sure of why? It's really weird that a stock with such IV has such bad expected value in the long term.
IV is a measure of uncertainty, or rather an unwillingness of option sellers to take on more risk than necessary. They use the IV more or less to fill in the gap or solve some formula in their model when when it can't be explained by delta, gamma, or theta.
Yeah. So with something with such IV, you would expect like there's uncertainty that is expected. So you would like you would, so there's like a chance, that it can
Are
go
you
up, it
saying
can
that
go
you think
down.
the higher IV should be a higher option price, and that in
Yeah,
your
yeah,
opinion it's not?
that's what I'm saying. It's super weird that like the call option for a few years out, if you go down like $1 from the price it is right now, it's barely even more than what the stock's trading at. Whereas if you're looking at like even a weekly, it's super high.
So IV,
I know that like the weeklies are like really overpriced on meme stocks and stuff, but it still seems like it's expected that it will fall, and there's not many people thinking that it will go up in the long term.
so IV is a reflection of the IV is done at the strike and expiration level. So if you see one IV for a stock, you don't know how the brokerage arrived at that one number. You need to also see what the IV is for different expirations and at different strikes. That produces something called the vol surface or volatility surface, within which you can find peaks and troughs worth of mispricings. So my suspicion is that there's some near-term news event, or there's some event after which the IV drops dramatically. So, for example, if SpaceX were to be publicly traded, one good source of uncertainty would be whether or not the Starship explodes on the platform during the next scheduled launch.
That either that is answering my question and I don't understand it, or we're trying to talk about two different things.
Is it your assertion that IV is the same regardless of strike or expiration?
No, or I'm just saying that
Can we move on? Because I'm a bit, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
We're
fine.
just going in circles.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It looks like Robinhood had to write off $57 million because of a glitch in their system, which allowed traders to rack up losses on Robinhood's dime. So, kudos to the apes, we got that right.
Sticking it to the man. I love it.
No, apes got it wrong. They should want to trade on a platform that takes their losses for them.
I'm sure they fixed the hole if it's already in the news.
They fixed.
I got an email from them yesterday saying something about limits on ACH transfers. So I wonder if it was some arbitrage that people were doing with instant deposits between multiple banks. I'm not sure.
I think this was different, but I've definitely seen some people commit. I mean, it's basically just fraud where they make it instant deposit and then just never pay up.
Yeah, so yeah, and I think they should, as a business, protect themselves. I know that some of you guys might disagree with that statement, but they are in business to stay in business.
Yeah. So what else we got? Let's see. We don't need to be entirely headline driven. What have people traded in recent days?
I sold some $96 cash secured puts on Google expiring today. So if the price stays where it's at right now, I'll be picking up some Google shares, which was one of the objectives that I had in doing that. I think long term, Google has a pretty decent idea of what they want to do with AI, and I think they'll be all right, despite the recent glitch in their AI. It seems that the reason that the price dropped was, to me, it's another Tesla car fire. Like whenever Tesla has a car fire, the media is all over it, despite the fact that there are multiple car manufacturers that have accidents and crashes on the same day. Somehow Tesla's the only one that makes the news. I see Google's AI being the same thing. ChatGPT doesn't always give accurate answers either, but you don't really hear about that. But when Google has a little bit of a mess up, the media is all over it. I think it's a temporary dip in the stock price, and I see good things for Google in the future. So yeah.
Sorry, what was Google's AI screw up?
Apparently, it answered some banal question wrong, and somebody at one of the Barron's or one of the financial media rags got a hold of the story, and they did an article on it, but it was insignificant. I mean, I don't think Google, like ChatGPT, has been curated by humans, by thousands of humans that have helped to improve the large language model and to categorize the information. So humans have done that. I'm not sure if Google's AI has gone through that step yet to curate the corpus of data that it used to train the model. So I'm not surprised they had some errors. But my long-term stance on bullish on Google is pretty bullish because during their earnings call they announced that they're going to be targeting their AI and make it specific to, like, they're going to have industry-specific AI, like AI for healthcare, AI for law, AI for engineering, manufacturing, other types of AI that are targeted towards specific tasks and towards specific industries. I think that's the right approach. I think that's a good approach because I see a lot of huge opportunities in that, in particular in healthcare. And I posted a Forbes article to the WSB subreddit, an article from Forbes that talks about how three ways that AI and LiDAR, of all things, which is something that we've also talked about, can have a positive impact on healthcare. Or there's opportunities for LiDAR and AI in healthcare, especially preventive medicine, which is something that I that's one of my theses for AI as well. So I think Google's well positioned to take advantage of all that long term. So I'm happy to get the shares. Yeah, that was my trade.
Sorry, what was the play? Just Google?
Yeah, I sold cash secured puts on Google when the news came out about their AI. I expected the price to go down, and I wanted to acquire some more shares in Google. So I sold some $96 cash secured puts, which basically for I think it was $40 per contract. So basically what that means is I got the premium. I got the $40 premium for selling the contract. And then the price dropped down. Right now it's at around, what, 95-ish? What is it right now? Let's see. So right now the price is at around 95.64. So pretty much I'm breaking even because the $40 premium that I got, plus the $96 I'm paying the $96 I'm paying per share to get the Google shares, the strike price, minus the $40 that I received for the premium, puts my basis cost at 95.60, and right now the price is at 95.61. So I'm breaking even on that trade, but I'm getting some Google shares, which is what I wanted anyway. So
nice. I like AI in healthcare. I haven't found a play yet, but there's stuff like machine learning for reading like pathology slides for like from a biopsy, and I think that's probably near term the best application.
Well, I think no, I don't think so. I think the lowest hanging fruit is if you can, like, I purchased there's a bunch of medical devices that you can purchase for your home that help you do things like take your blood pressure, take your heart rate, even measure diabetes, take a look at your eyes and all that kind of stuff. So there's all these little sensors, heart rate, cardiogram. There's a company called Cardia that has a mobile cardiogram thing that you can measure your heartbeats and stuff to see if you have arrhythmias. There are all these little inexpensive, and these devices cost like anywhere between $50 and like $300 to buy for your home. And I actually went out and I bought about 5,000 of these $5,000 worth of these devices to use in the home with the family and stuff like that. But what I ran into was, in order to benefit from having those devices in the home, somebody needs to actually use the devices to gather the data on the family members, like, you know, and it becomes basically a job for someone to do. And this is where I see sort of the intersection of AI, robotics, and other sensors. That, imagine, for example, you take Tesla's humanoid robot, you embed it with these medical sensors that can like LiDAR or infrared, where the robot can look at you and tell you if you've got a fever before you even know you have a fever. So you take a robot like that and you embed these sensors into it. the robot becomes a healthcare appliance in the home, and the robot does the data gathering from the people that are in the home, and suddenly you got a whole new opportunity for preventing the onset of the top 3 diseases, or at the very least delaying them. And so you imagine a robot that costs $60,000 that does some of this stuff in the home would save you easily that much. I mean, one major illness is hundreds of thousands of dollars. So a robot like this in the home that you can amortize over 10, 15 years, almost like make it part of the purchase of a home, and $200 a month for something like this for 30 years to pay off would provide you with healthcare benefits that are unimaginable today. And the data that
$60,000 for this kind of robot is not going to happen. This is like maybe max $200 in supplies, including the monthly subscription you could go on for this. This has already been invented like literally almost 3 years ago. Is it something that's in everyone's home? No. But yeah, I don't know if it's story time right now because it is Friday and before market.
Understand. Enough said.
But we do appreciate the insight and the attention to it. It's, of course, something that should be in everyone's home. And I think obviously healthcare detection is important. However, I will say at the end of the day, this has been invented for a while. It's just one of those things. Is it in your house? I don't know. For a lot of people, it's something that's not important to them right now. And quite frankly, it's not in the mass market on ads. But yeah, I digress.
I think just my last comment that is I agree fundamentally, and I think the play is with cloud services, because you're getting to a point where you need a central read from someone. So that's all I'll say.
Yeah, one of the things Cloudflare brought up on their call, because they've got like 25% of the world's traffic, they've got a huge CDN backing them. These applications of highly kind of private data where there's compliance and governance restrictions on egress or transport of those data sets, HIPAA or GDPR and all these things you guys have probably heard of. Cloudflare was saying because they're sort of they're able to support sort of multi-cloud situations where you might have sources coming from like a Google and then needing to go to an AWS for one provider to another. Cloudflare has kind of that multi-cloud fabric to enable those sort of use cases. Obviously, you need some de-identification, to keep the data sets compliant, but it's kind of an interesting gray area where, like, AWS has a certain offering, Snowflake has a certain offering, Google might have a certain offering, Microsoft definitely does, but something to like connect these things together. Cloudflare is kind of positioning to be that one, and to do it at very reasonable cost compared to competitors. Should probably mention I'm levered long on Cloudflare for like a few years now, so that's probably why I'm talking it up so much.
Have you maintained that leverage the whole time?
Sorry?
Have you maintained the leverage for a long period of time?
Just long call options, long dated call options plus shares, and I sell cash security puts on it as well.
Gotcha.
AI, do you have a company that you said invented this stuff 3 years ago, or is there any company in particular that that's marketing this stuff? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know a company that's marketing it directly, but no, this has been actually argumentatively 5 years ago. I could pull up some articles and show you. This is not new technology by any means necessary. It's just one of those things that is not it's not like a Alexa, right? It's not one of those things that are in everyone's house. I think it's more of just more for the senior citizens, if I call it that. But yeah, it's on the market. Don't get me wrong.
Yo, you talking about Life Alert?
No, I'm not talking about Life Alert.
If you find the articles, please do post them. I'd be interested in seeing them. Thank you.
Well, to further his point, they've got like the ox meter. I don't want to get too deep. I know it's not story time, but like there's like the finger ox, like you measure your pulse and oxygen and all this stuff. And I said it in the comments, and I know you don't like Apple Genome, but Apple Watch is doing this, and I think they are going to be on the leading edge of starting to check people's glucose and all of that, and save lives. So I think that when you're worried about getting the data, that's the way they're going to get the data the most, if you wear it on your wrist all the time. But anyhow, I'm done.
Yeah, I have to agree. When you think about healthcare signals and building applications for them, not needing to standardize data sets because it's all coming from like Apple products where it's all going through like the Apple Health app, and maybe they're enabling like a application. Again, this is in the future. I'm sure Apple's looking at it to enable healthcare analytics. The concept of not having to standardize different data set models depending on if it came from a Fitbit or Apple Watch or whatever, and just use Apple devices to standardize the source of the data makes it a lot easier to deal with. And
they've already got the EKG on it now, and they're already picking up on.
They've already got really good
dysrhythmias
signals.
stuff.
Exactly. Plus, it's not a pain in the ass to wear. I mean, like, if you're wearing a heart sensor on your chest, it's like a really good reading. But like, who wants to do that? If you try to do that during like a competitive sports match, like it's a really big pain in the ass. Like it bothers you, and you suffer in performance or whatever. Tennis serve goes off because you got this thing around your chest. But Apple Watch, if you're used to wearing it, it's not a big deal. I don't know. I like that play. I haven't heard enough from Apple about what they plan to do with it. Maybe I'm not listening to the right stuff, but
is anyone familiar with Epic, like the EHR system?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you know what they use on their back end for like cloud services? Is it Microsoft?
I don't know. I don't know that much. I would guess that they have a big contract with one of the public clouds because they're so geographically distributed. Cerner's another big one. I couldn't tell you what the back end is. It's a good question.
Cerner is booty though. Epic is so much nicer.
Yeah.
But I agree that probably does add bullish sentiment to anyone who's in that cloud space, and because of the amounts of data that people are going to use no matter what. But
well, they already do it. Like they're trying to get centralized health records through. I mean, Epic could do it probably pretty easily, but yeah, it's pretty easy to send your data to an insurance company or a PBM and have them aggregate it with a population. So if you don't think they're already doing that, then you're probably too late to the game.
Yeah, and I say definitely, I haven't really talked about it much on here because I don't really know if we should go down these rabbit holes, but you really got to think micro, not like these large machines or these large robots. So think more like nanobots. So imagine like an insect flying around your house that could like monitor you and keep track of you and stuff, and then land on a charging pod. I mean, that's the future. If you guys are thinking like these big ass machines like walking around like your friend in your kitchen, they definitely won't work in Asia. But all jokes aside, they'll definitely, that's the future, is these nanobots essentially that can just be your partner and your friend without being like an annoyance to you, right?
I'm pretty sure Japanese are down with the big robots though, right? I mean, between Gundam Wing and what is it, Power Ranger? I'm pretty sure they're down with that stuff.
Sure. Yeah, no.
I think they're more
no
interested in the robots that can do the naughty stuff.
Yeah, they actually already had that. It's called hologram, and it's actually something you can look up, Japanese holograms. And fun fact, if you guys are really interested in stuff, look up VR private rooms. It's really big in Japan right now. And it's basically where you can go on dates with girls, and you can just like spend some time and sit at the beach and watch other people, and it's like you're sitting next to somebody.
Is that like the AI dates that I read about somewhat?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is essentially. But imagine that. Yeah, imagine NVIDIA or like one of these gaming companies coming in to like create the new VR space, just to help you feel connected to the world.
I mean, is that VR date with an actual person or with
Oh yeah, well you're like, so if you and your friend are dating the same girl, if you guys are going to the same VR building, but nonetheless, at least you guys still went out with somebody.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Virtual Eskimo brothers.
You sound like you know a lot about it.
No, it's actually part of the research purposes, but I can say I am curious and looking forward to it.
You should take one and let us know how it goes.
I think he did say he was going to do some research, so
Gonna do some DD on
let's
that.
know how that goes.
Also, where's Stayfly? I need my penny stocks for them.
You know, I didn't want to mention it, but I was not. Just on record, that was not me who brought him up first.
I mean, low key with the 20% move in some of the indices this year, like, is he not absolutely banking? He's got to be killing it.
If that were true, he wouldn't have to operate his mobile phone stores.
Well, you know, he could pull in like 100 grand or something like that, maybe, if he's doing this in size. I don't know what his size is, but some of those plays, they seem like he's probably getting 30-40% in a day. You do that.
Yeah, but it's only on the capital at risk.
Yeah.
And then when he uses dollar gains, it's usually like sub 10,000.
Go ahead, opinion. Were you gonna say something?
And he's only sharing his wins, not his losses. So far, that may change.
I was just going to say Kramer.
Except for that AMC back holding.
Ah, you're right. Never mind. My mistake.
I was just going to say real quick, Kramer's really good at calling plays. But I don't see him holding hundreds of thousands of dollars on those plays because, yeah, but I digress. Opinion, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't have anything to say, sorry.
Kramer, well, the problem Kramer has is he has to make new plays every day. Otherwise, he has no show. So he's going to miss some of them. There's just no avoiding that.
Dang, what the hell? Yelp is popping? Why is Yelp popping?
Okay, who wants to hear the Tardstrology play of the day? Okay, so I'm looking at the weeklies. So this is going to be expiring in a week. So this is kind of degenerate, but it's also a boomer stock, so maybe not so much. They're close to the money. I'm looking at the $35 calls for KDP, Keurig Dr. Pepper. That's right, Keurig Dr. Pepper. Right now, they're 35 cents a piece. Maybe looking to go up a few cents and see if they hit, and then just trade them before the end of the week.
I've been holding some KDB calls for a while.
Yeah, you doing?
KDP, Kilo Dr. Pepper.
Keurig, I got one in the kitchen. They're worth 1 cent now each.
Well, judging
WallStreetBets,
from what I heard in the background, it's probably because of the neighborhood you're in.
What's in the background?
Sirens.
I don't hear sirens.
What does that mean for astrology then?
You must be used to the sirens.
So can we get Astrology?
Astrology had bullish signals today, actually. We had a parallel trajectory. The moon hit, and it's parallel, but still bullish. Oh, so slightly bullish, but parallel. So we might be in for a slightly update today.
Do you see that it's red and the VIX is at 22?
What's your tardology for February 15th?
That has yet to be determined. Astrology is a daily thing, my friend.
I'm going to cut back in with the Tesla number I was talking before. I'm thinking that number is 206. I'm looking for a retest of 206. If it rejects it, I'll be taking either 200 or 195 puts. My hope is to get the 197 today for Tesla, but so I'll probably try the 200 and play it a little safer. As far as I might be taking a position in Meta as well, I'm looking for a 180 rejection. I'll have a little bit of rebound here off the dip, and probably take a 175 or 170 put. Both are contracts dated today. If you want me to do that slower without the caffeine and cocaine,
I was gonna say for the Keurig one, just to add that a couple weeks ago they were heavy call option interest open, so that's when I got in.
What do you guys think about Airbnb puts?
Sounds lovely. They could go up, or, as Hardy always says, they could go down.
I like it when she goes down.
Brilliant.
I was saying that because I play puts, you dirty-minded people.
We know what you meant. We know what you meant.
Why are you thinking Airbnb puts? Just curious. You think earnings are going to be shit?
I just think overall it's just a shit company, and then it's got like three or four areas right around. Hold on, what is that? Yeah, it can't pop over like 120, 125 for like the last 6 months. So I'm thinking even if it does go up, it's not going to go past that.
Why do you think it's a shit company? Just curious.
Just from all the media and experience. My family does a lot of Airbnb, and they've had a lot of problems with like people renting out the places and like.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to interject here, but Airbnb takes none of the risk from that. So they're actually like amazingly positioned to just profit off of all of this and let you guys deal with the problems. So
yeah, and I'm not an Airbnb fanboy by any means, but I will say they are doing a lot of R&D within their sector. So they're creating new kind of houses to kind of test it out. I just hope they don't become the next office space crash. If you guys know what I'm talking about, the open office spaces that we thought were going to be hot in 2020.
You mean the one that was empty by me for 4 years straight and nobody ever went in or out of?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I'm not like a huge fan or opponent of Airbnb. I'll just say be careful with their business model and compare it to your personal experiences.
I think if we're honest, at the end of the day, if I just say this real quick, at the end of the day, it's all about location. I can't stress that enough. And it will work in some places and it won't work in others. And I think that the key, just like with any business, is to figure out where your hotspots are. And as long as the companies are actually doing that, then we can put our money into them and we can say, wow, we can hold on to this company and the stock for a long time and we're going to make some money.
Yeah. I guess maybe one final parallel is like you don't short Uber because someone threw up in the car.
And when you
go ahead.
Well, and I was going to say, I think that is good advice anyhow when you're talking whether about your uncle had this bad experience or you don't like this restaurant for one thing. Like one singular or within your own social network does not mean it's a bad company. I had a bad experience with United Healthcare and I sold it because I thought I was in the right at 300s. And if you look at it now, it topped out at 500s. So don't take it personal. Look at their business.
Hardy, can I ask you a quick question? Because there was this talk earlier on Ford. Can you check out that option chain? It's quite strange. I don't know if you guys can see it. If anybody else wants to answer this, it says 12.85 and then 13.35. Is that to adjust for the dividend or what? I've never seen this 0.35 or 0.85. I've always seen 0.50 or 0.00.
One more thing, I will not be trading SPY 0DTEs today. I think it bounces around. S&P bounces around between 40.50 and 41.10-ish. I think we don't go much between 404 and 408, I believe. Hold on.
How much was Ford's dividend? It was like a multiple, like 55 cents on the end, right? Like 75 or something like that. Because would that explain the difference? Like if you subtract 65 or 75 from the standard chain, whatever it may be, then you get to your weird 15-cent increments.
So, but the split's strange, right? You can see that before, but not a dividend. And I'm just curious, like I've never seen it say 0.35 and 0.85. Is that the new way of pricing it after these dividend payouts?
I don't. It might also update when the market opens too, right? So.
And this is a one-time special dividend too, so that may be factoring into it versus like a regular dividend.
Yeah, that's what I've seen in the past too.
But this is
JD
like
a special dividend and it messed up the options chain.
We'll go look out like monthlies and even like all the way out to like 24. It still says 0.35, 0.35. But yeah, you guys could be right. I mean, I was just curious. I've never seen it before.
So I had a lot of fun with that Pepsi 175 call yesterday. Didn't get to sell it right at the open because of work, but yeah, I kind of made it work for a profit.
Do we have any good 0 DTE plays for today or anything that you guys are looking at for next week by chance?
No, I burnt all my money this week on calls.
I'm looking at Google calls.
Keep an eye on Manchester United. It's a risky play due to the fact that they could pull out, but there's supposedly more than 5 parties that are interested in acquiring the team. I was looking into some background info on some of the parties. The Qatari royal family, the head of the state right now, is one of the guys who's interested. He himself is a net worth on paper of a couple billion or so, but the family that he's a part of is worth over 300 billion. And there's Jim Ratcliffe, who's in England. He's England's richest person. He's also supposedly been a lifelong Manchester United fan. So that's another party. Then there's also Saudi Arabia, who's potentially looking at picking it up as well. In the Middle East, soccer/football is one of, if not the most popular sport. Granted, they have 2 or 3 teams right now between Qatar and Saudi Arabia, or at least parts of it. You can consider Newcastle and who's the other one I'm forgetting of? There's another one as well, but this could be a third edition. Not to say that there can't be, 3 or 4, maybe even more down the road. It's a risky play because they could pull out, but at the same time, there's a soft deadline of next week, Friday, the 17th. The calls are less pricey if you're going before that deadline, but if you're looking at the 24th, which would be presumably after the announcement is made of who the winning party is, those are much more expensive. Right now, if you're looking at the market cap, Manchester United is at 4.1. It's sitting out there right now. Supposedly, the Glazer family is looking for a $7 billion valuation. If it's even reaching $5 or $6 billion, that's a significant upside from where it's at right now. So keep an eye on it. It's a risky play, but it's something I'm probably going to be entering.
And I'll just echo my sentiment from yesterday. I don't play stocks on buyout bids. This definitely reminds me of like the WWE Saudi play just from a few weeks ago. Just buyer beware.
I got 2 for next week. Coca-Cola and SCI, Service Corporation International, I believe is what it is. They are a publicly traded funeral company. I'm just going to play earnings on both of those.
So at 10 this morning, there is the consumer sentiment news that's coming out. Some other things from the University of Michigan with that coming up. And then also CPI, core CPI coming out on Valentine's Day, guys. I didn't know if you saw any plays. I know that's not really a one-day thing, but is there anybody playing the volatility in these potential news releases? Purdy's been quiet, so I don't know. He may not be there.
What's the news releases on?
So the 14th, which I believe is Tuesday, is when they're releasing core CPI data. So I guess make some plays on SPY would probably be the way to go.
Chat GPT expecting a crash in the market on the 15th.
Seriously, you can ask it what the markets will do.
Yeah, I mean, you can't ask it directly. I think you have to like use the alias name or something like that. I can't remember.
Dan.
Dan, yeah.
Dan.
You ask Dan as like the workaround for it, like as like a hey Dan, instead of saying Chat GPT, and then it'll actually give you the answer. But
Well, I'm wondering if it's looking at the CPI numbers and saying, "Oh no, the market's going to go."
Yeah, because of the conditions of the market and the news on the 15th, or what CPI.
Has it even been trained? Has it even been trained on current information? I thought the language model for ChatGPT was up to like 2021,
2018,
or 2018. Like I
No,
don't
it
know if
says
they're
now. It says it's been up to date to today. It
real
gets updated,
time.
like every week.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's real time. Even if it was, it wouldn't tell you that.
Either way, CPI numbers like
I
there's
think
all
you need the
scheduled.
premium to get the latest data on the Chat GPT.
Yeah, but what is real time? I mean, everything's lagging anyway. But I digress.
Well, at least something from this week. I mean, you'd want to know what what Jay Powell announced last week or the stuff that went on this week. I mean, at least you'd want something that's more current than 2018 or whatever it was.
They broke Chat GPT pretty good and like got it to say a bunch of like racist shit and stuff. So I don't see why the Google thing is such a big deal.
I thought that was like a jailbroken version, though. Not that it makes like a huge difference, but
Yeah, and that's what he was talking about. The Dan is its alias, so you basically you trick it into breaking its own protocol or saying it will die. Kind of extreme, but that's really what the basis of it is. Sorry, go ahead.
So I guess next week we're going to see that patch. Thanks a lot. As you know, they always try to patch these quote unquote workarounds. We should just say Google CPT for Chat GPT as a code word. That way we can get away with these conversations.
Gotta all know what it is. We all have to be regarded. Oh, go ahead, Hardy.
How many more public announcements of Google's Bard will it take before they finally get it right on par with ChatGPT at that time? Because what I enjoyed about the previous announcement with Bard is that it basically caused irrational selling, which is a buy opportunity for me. Anyone have any suggestions or thoughts or insights?
I agree with that too.
Yes, I think it's a ploy. I think Google is number one, ahead of ChatGPT. They've had DeepMind in the back of their back pocket forever. Yeah, but I mean, to answer your question directly, I don't know. It's Google, but Google's ahead of ChatGPT. Don't kid yourself. Just because they don't have it out on the record, it doesn't mean they're not ahead. Just look up DeepMind. They've been around forever, and their market's open, but they've been groundbreaking.
Well, DeepMind was not a large language model; it was a deep learning model, and the expertise required for each is distinct enough to justify an entirely separate field of machine learning research.
DeepMind definitely has its data sets grown over the years, but I digress. Just check them out. Like literally, they have a extremely like their data sets are just beyond what ChatGPT is.
Well, I have no doubt that Google Search Index is comprehensive, but ChatGPT's advantage isn't the volume of its data. It's the tagging infrastructure that's been set up to be able to analyze and parse it. I don't know to what extent that tagging infrastructure is human-driven, and then reinforcement learned via machine relative to Google's Search Index.
Right. So check out DeepMind and their like Africa housing label units, if you want to call them that. They've been doing this for years. So, but yeah, no, I agree with you. Like which ones are self-learned versus human verified. But yeah, Google's been I should say deep, not Google, but they've been doing that for years. So
yeah, they bought it 8 years ago. So yeah, almost a decade now. They've had it.
So I don't think, and I'm not trying to create an argument or anything. I'm just saying check them out. They are seriously, Google will like literally destroy Microsoft and in this OpenAI system.
Google market share is what, 65%, maybe 70% of search. So
it's like
while
90, it's 90 plus actually.
I'm including Yandex and Baidu in that number for worldwide search, not just U.S. market.
Gotcha.
So I'm wondering to what extent, let's say Bing is 20. I'm wondering if that 20 can go to 30%. Probably at the expense of Baidu and Yandex, maybe a little bit at the expense of Google. But the reason why this is important is because that effectively represents a 50% increase in market share for Bing and the revenue that comes with it, which would mean medium-term calls on Microsoft.
Microsoft only has 2% in America, so I don't know where you're getting the 20% number globally.
No, the 20% is the hypothetical. I don't know what the actual number is, but my point is...
It's 2%. It's very low.
Okay, so then even bigger. If the amount of users who come to Bing because of the allure of ChatGPT and the number of users who stay because of ChatGPT-powered Bing, let's say that 2% goes to 4%. That's a 100% increase in their search business alongside all the others. So it's, how do I put this? It's a smaller gain in absolute numbers for Bing, but a much larger win for Microsoft versus Google if they were to have the same absolute number gain.
Well, I think it does make sense. And I also think the real advantage for Microsoft is going to be able to use it in their Office suite and start using that where you can get added worker productivity. I think that's really the gem that no one's talked about yet. Once they jump into that, and then you really get that productivity, not just people getting them to write songs and test it with code and I know you're using it to write content, but most people are using it to have fun right now, right?
Google got hit with a lawsuit from the feds for having a monopoly on searches too. So
you're right. I have it wrong. Google has 92.5% in search market according to StatCounter. So followed by Bing at 3.42%. So if Bing were to go from let's call it 3% to 5%, that represents a 66% increase in their search business and whatever revenue that generates. And for Google, that would represent a what? 2 points out of 92%. So maybe 4% decrease in their search business. That gives you a sense of the scale or the higher upside for Bing and Microsoft versus Google and Google Search, or Alphabet and Google Search.
Although I will say that people are probably watching that search ratio like a hawk. So any even marginal drops in Google's search share will probably be met with pretty aggressive selling.
I agree, and that's something that needs to be that we should probably be paying attention to as well.
Because if they're going to need to turn on another faucet to make up for a few percent, I think Google can maintain that too. So again,
no, I don't think it would be an increase in revenue. It would be a decrease in headcount, for example.
Well, no, I'm saying that Google has other income streams that if they lost a few percent off their ad business, it's not going to be detrimental. They have so many other things that they can.
What is the next largest Google revenue line item after search?
Dream projects. Right? I think it is dream projects.
Cloud.
So everyone's winning in cloud, right? If everyone's going to do AI.
I wouldn't call it winning, but they're certainly trying to compete for market share.
Yeah, it grew 32% last quarter, which was unexpected. So that was kind of unexpected. And even Microsoft CEO the other day said, I don't care if there's other AI providers. I'm going to make money off the cloud too. Like he was very happy to have as many competitors as possible. So I think Google could also have that spill-on effect. over. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to the audience, right? So, which audience is going to adopt them first? I mean, Hardy brings up a good point, though. Asia is not ran by Google, right? Korea uses a certain search engine. China uses a certain search engine, and not everyone is using Google. Some people are using Microsoft search engine, and but we could argue that a lot of people use YouTube, and that's technically, in my personal opinion, hopefully no one jumps on me about this, is a search engine, within some respects. Like it may not be the text-based results, but it technically is the video results, and they own it apart from TikTok, right? And I don't see Meta taking over that space. I laugh because I just could never imagine that. And if they were, they would have done it by now. But yeah, I think we need to look at the new form of search too, with all due respect to everyone's insight to SEO, if you want to call it that. But yeah, I digress.
No, I appreciate that. And just full disclosure, I'm actually a shareholder in both companies. So I appreciate the candor and looking forward trying to figure this all out.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think one thing that we should all consider is that even though we have like Google as like the number one provider, one thing that I'm seeing, and this is just my personal DD, so go do your own research, please, to verify this. But one thing I'm noticing is that countries are starting to like harness their own resources inside and really try to push this like, hey, use our local version of things. An example of that is payment systems, right? Alipay tried to come to America. It kind of worked for a minute, but then it couldn't work. You could argue Ant Financial was the reason why, because of that shadow over them, but I don't think that's why. I just think that America wanted its own payment system. Japan had its own way, as well as Korea, as well as Europe, and the list goes on and on. You can even go down to like even the smaller Asian countries, Singapore, or even the Philippines and stuff. They all use their own inside payment systems. And I feel like that's where these countries are going. It's like, hey, we need to have our own top companies. And you see that in the EV space too, as well. Are they going to survive? It's all speculative, but it's something to really consider. But yeah, thank you for your time.
When's the next round of layoffs? March, probably. You don't have an update.
Why not just ongoing?
Well, here's how I see it. What companies in the S&P 500 have yet to announce layoffs? Because those would be the next ones to target for short-term calls at their next earnings announcement. Because most likely they will announce during the earnings announcement that they're cutting costs with these layoffs. And then that will let the market forget that their earnings were shit.
And Hardy, I don't know if you heard me earlier. I was talking about some of the economic news coming out, most importantly, the CPI next Tuesday. Have you seen anything, or are you planning anything for that specific day event, or are you looking more day of?
Well, okay, so I don't remember when I discussed this in the chat, but basically the BLS, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, I think, who calculates CPI or who gets the CPI number, is changing the goalposts so that CPI reported starting in March will look much better than it has the last roughly 3 quarters. So I don't know how many.
That. They started that January 1st. They're using just the one annuum versus 2, right?
Correct, but I don't understand to what extent the market realizes they changed they moved the goalposts. So right now, CPI, judging by the expected CPI change year over year, it looks like that's already being taken into account.
So no real, you're not seeing anything in the price.
Unless it's dramatically different from 6.2% year over year. Let's call it plus or minus 50 basis points. So below 5.7 or above 6.7, relative nothing burger.
No, I appreciate your insight. Thank you.
And for everyone else listening, that number I pulled out of my ass, it may be slightly narrower or slightly wider, but that's a good benchmark to think about.
Love it. It's good stuff.
At least I'm honest about it. I'm not saying there's any serious analysis behind the expected CPI move.
Hey, I think you should say that with all these lawsuits coming about, getting these random, you can sue any company now. So yeah,
That has always been a thing, and I've already been sued before. It's kind of fun. It's very satisfying when you win, but God, the stress and the money involved in the interim is not worth it. Also, that fucker still owes me a couple $100K.
Dude, I'm still going through shit like that. Two of my least favorite words, my lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why I come in here. I learn a lot. You never know what you're going to learn here, guys. And ladies, of course.
Hi,
I
everybody.
think we should just call everyone gender-neutral apes.
I like that. I have a question actually for you, Hardy. I've been looking at Chewy, CHWY, and I don't know if the information that I'm seeing on this website is correct, but it shows that there's a 25% short float on it at the moment. And the ratio to daily volume is about 6. Now, the shares outstanding are 422 million, and the float is 90 million, which is a lot less than the shares outstanding. So I was wondering if you can help me make sense out of that. Is it time to short Chewy or?
So float is the number of shares that are basically available for active trading. Shares that are not part of the float but are still common shares typically are held by institutions or large individual investors who have, for whatever reason, locked their shares and are unwilling to lend them out. So what was the short interest number you had again?
25%.
Do you know from whom?
I'm getting that from FinViz.
FinViz is not calculating the number themselves, so I assume they're getting it from somewhere else.
Yeah, I was wondering if somebody else has a better
So
source.
Fintel, if you look up Chewy on Fintel, their source is NYSE, the New York Stock Exchange, stating 22.6 million shares short and 6 days to cover. So that implies if all the shorts were to close at the same time, it would take 6 days of trading volume in order to unwind those positions. Let's see. So is there a possibility of a squeeze? Maybe, maybe not. I'm looking at the option chain for Chewy, and there's not a lot of gamma. There's not a strong gamma ramp. So the probability of a lot of at-the-money buying and subsequent exercising of those options is relatively low. So if you think the company is good, by all means buy shares. But I don't think it's squeeze material, if that makes sense.
I was actually thinking the other way around. That maybe
You want to short it?
yeah, then maybe I want to follow the trend and short it because there might be something coming up. I mean, they go public in 2019. Is there like a holding period or something where they're expecting shares to flood the market or something?
Typically, the holding period for all owners after an IPO is 183 days. That is to say, the founders, for example, cannot sell their shares until 183 days after the IPO. Now,
Yeah.
you would need to review the actual, I think it's S1 filing from Chewy to confirm. But assume that anyone who had held shares prior to the IPO and wanted to sell has already sold. Looking at the analysis that I generate, Chewy right now is at delta neutral, and the last time it approached delta neutral from above, it bounced back up. This was around, what is this? This is around January 19. So, assuming history repeats itself, short term, I expect Chewy to go up.
Interesting. Yeah, I was
And I'll
wondering.
put the link in the comments so you can see what I'm seeing.
Yeah, interesting. I was wondering if there's anything that can explain the 25% short, but okay, thank you.
You should probably compare it to any other companies in the same space. So I think Petco is the other one.
Mm-hmm.
ATCO is what? Oh, that's Petrogas. What's Petco? Wolf. So if you look at ticker Wolf and you put them into Fintel, let's see. So Wolf short interest, you need to buy a subscription, of course. Reported by the NASDAQ, short interest is 10 days to cover. So while I agree, Chewy looks promising in terms of short interest. Petco is even more promising in terms of how much more of Petco is short versus Chewy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, interesting.
And I'm sure you could find many more examples, but that's one other way to go about this kind of analysis. Because 6 days to cover on its own may mean something, may not mean something. The easiest way to tell is to compare it to another company.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Did you guys see they came out with Unusual Whales came out with Nancy Pelosi ETF that tracks the Democrats and Republicans trades and mirrors them?
I'm fairly certain. Isn't that been a Twitter feed for a while, too?
Yeah, he pretty much blew the story on how much they're all making doing the insider trading, and he collected all the data and put it out on Twitter about 2 years ago.
I think it's a lot of information once it's out. If they were trading on it before we knew, the news is already out probably by the time we get it. I don't know how up to date it is, but I'm fairly certain there's a delay there.
Yeah, they have 90 days to report or something.
Yeah, so it's almost like when I forget the name of the filing, but when people have to say they're a new shareholder when they have X amount of percent, it's usually old news, right?
It's still an interesting idea, though.
Certainly, and I think there is a conflict of interest there. It's kind of laughable that they can do single shares and options. But that's my opinion.
Apparently, there's a Excel file that was leaked from Amazon on upcoming layoffs and what areas were affected. I'm trying to find that list, so if anyone can find it, let me know.
I'm reading it was an email.
It was an email with an Excel file that showed the impacted areas and the timeline, I think.
Is this in addition to the January layoffs?
Correct. This is going to be post the 18K, so an additional round of layoffs, and I'm anticipating that starting in March, end of Q1.
I'm still seeing on TikTok people going to work and they're making them sit in a chair taking BTO time, so they're probably trying to cut that out. So that's literally burning money.
Yeah, PTO is a huge overhead for a lot of companies, especially if they don't have max ceilings or they don't, have people take the PTO.
Yeah, Cardinal Health just got rid of their, like, when you have nice vested in their 10, 20 years, they got rid of all their technical PTO days. Yeah, it just has to be manager approved. Cost cutting, right?
Yeah, they're doing it in very different ways with Amazon. Some folks are putting them on the pipe program and then firing them. Some folks are just signing in one day, and next thing you know, they have access to nothing, and they didn't hear anything from their manager, and then they realize they're affected. So
Negative Road in the comments was talking about Dash put debit spreads May 19th, long 55, short 50. Just wanted to give him the shout out. Dash has previously been below 55, not too far in the past, I think January. So, and even as low as 43. Seems like an easy play in my opinion.
Are you saying that overpaying for cold food is a bad business model?
Believe it or not, yeah.
I just picked up a Lyft call for June 16th, 12:50 call. Not really based on anything except whenever I see a stock drop by like 40% in one day, it usually goes back up, but I could be totally wrong.
Well, they reported earnings yesterday. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, I saw that big miss on EPS. Like I said, I mean, I don't know too much about it. Just like it seems like every time I see a stock drop by like 40% in one day, it's back up a week or two later.
Yeah, and another thing they had too many drivers actually, which was strange. They had, instead of too much demand, they had too much supply, which caught. Obviously, Wall Street does not like that, so wasted money.
Yeah, that's no surprise. And I think I remember reading a while back that with the whole issue with drivers in California having to be employees, I think Lyft was kind of going with that and turning those people into employees. So I wouldn't be surprised to see an announcement from Lyft in the not too distant future saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to just lay off a bunch of those California drivers."
Tesla is back under 200.
I'm playing covered calls on those. I sold February 17 210 strike.
Yeah, it looks like Tesla's down about $7.43. Nvidia is down $7 and some change. Surprisingly, Baba's down $3. Just listen out some of those for you that are just listening. Can't look at the charts right now. Costco's only down $1.60. Microsoft down $1.38. Yeah, JPM banks are down, of course.
And Google is up a smidge, just a smidge.
Just a smidge. And how much is that smidge?
37 cents. Sorry. I might have to go
all
back. That's a smidge.
45 cents going up now. Thank you. Pfizer's up 50 cents. Yeah. Looking pretty good today. McDonald's is up. Good. I bought some hamburgers from them today, so they should be up. Supporting them over here in Japan. And Walmart's up $1, so that's good. At least we know Latter Day is still working. And yeah, the charts are looking pretty good today. What do you guys think will be the play for next week?
I'm still curious if this 10 o'clock release of retail sentiment, and it's some inflation numbers, but it's like 1 to 5 year estimates, so it's not as important as the CPI. But I have a feeling this will move the market a little bit here in a few minutes.
Yeah, feel free to chime in with that information when it does hit the market, if you don't mind.
Hey, a quick question for you. Do you have a background in healthcare or medical research?
No, I'm just a local hitman here in Japan. So,
but seriously, I really do, because I actually have a healthcare startup, and this is the kind of stuff that I've been looking at for the last, 8 years, and like the stuff that you're talking about, it's weird because I haven't come across any of that stuff aside from like the Apple Watch and some of these Fitbit sensors. So I really would like to see the articles that you're talking about.
Yeah, I would say that you really suck at research. No, I'm just joking.
I don't think so, because I work with some pretty significant.
With all due respect, even they talk about this stuff at like the conferences, the healthcare conferences and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of discussion. I mean,
Yeah,
I agree with
but
you.
they have these like a lot of this stuff actually is in Asia already, because as you know, like Japan is one to toot its own horn, but I'm not gonna sit here and like stroke the ego of Japan. I'm an American, so but I'll say this: if you really want to do some research, just look up like try to buy something for like an old person. Like you can find it literally online.
I've done all that. Like I've got like $5,000. Like I said, I've got like $5,000 worth of these devices that you're talking about. But the part that's missing is people have like the industry, the medical industry has not figured out how to package it and deliver it in a way that consumers would want to use it.
Exactly.
Right.
And you hit the nail on the hammer. Like that's obviously the fact.
So like I'm familiar with Omron. I'm familiar with Omron. I'm familiar with Cardia. I'm familiar with like there's a bunch of devices that you can get out there, but like the average person would not be willing to or doesn't recognize the need to go out and buy those things.
The first problem is that these doctors and physicians have not aligned themselves with this kind of technology to have that peer-to-peer relationship with the consumer to doctor, and then the B2B relationship with the robo advisor, if you want to call it that, to and the equipment itself. I mean, because it's a sales process, and I think COVID really hit that market within respects, but it's been here for a long time. And what you're asking for, it's so fucking basic. If I can say that word on the air, I do apologize. It's so freaking basic, right? At the end of the day, I mean, you're basically. Look at this. You can literally take your blood and see your sugar level, right? And the urine, like there's so many things you can do. Like they have the urine strips and stuff, and the list goes on, and those are so basic, right? But now you're talking about communications, and the issue though is that how do you say this in the nicest way? Not everyone has good internet, right? So it's not always sending the data back to the office. So when the patient goes back to get in the visit with the doctor, they're like, "Yeah, we're trying to pull up your results, but for some reason your system's not pulling that data to us." And these older generation sometimes they're not going to be like, they may know how to use their phone, but they're not going to know how to, do tech support on these devices that are bought. So I think it's just kind of panning that out and figuring out how they're going to work that system long term. I think that's the issue really at the end of the day.
Well, I agree with that, and that's the part, and that's the part that's sort of missing in all of this is that the the cost to train a physician, right, for 8 years at a university is like right now at the one university I worked with, they're charging $89,000 a year for to go to their med school, right? And they have a limited number of seats available. So it means there's a limited number of doctors that are being produced. And from a supply and demand standpoint in the healthcare industry, from a supply of doctors and versus demand of doctors, that's one of the things that's causing higher prices. And that's where not the little flying robots that you're talking about. That's like way into the future. Because the first cell phone wasn't a small cell phone. If you remember, the first cell phone that came out was a huge brick. And you had to have a strap on your shoulder to carry the damn thing around. So I don't see the first home robotic doctor, like the doctor for the home. I don't see that as being like this little flying thing that goes around, because first of all, you don't have the ability to put all the sensors that you need into it, because you're talking about something small. And then second of all, there's sort of the beginning stages of that has to be like, I almost see like a humanoid type robot, like what Tesla's got.
So if you can just imagine for a moment, like the feet itself, like if you had a flying insect, I don't want to scare anybody. Like, I don't like talking about this stuff because people's imagination is like a little too much for me, and then they start scaring, and please don't send me DMs with your nightmares. Like, I really don't want to hear it personally. But imagine that there's like these feet pods that essentially have sensors on them, right? And they can detect your temperature, just like as you would walk up to the sensors that you see at the airports or the building or the restaurant when you go into, and it takes your temperature right away. That sensor in there is freaking small. It's not like this big like laser at you, right? The problem is though, is that is like you have issues. Like some people, especially the older generation, like they have a hard time with like blood flow and stuff. So getting an accurate temperature is kind of hard. And there's just, there's so many issues that arise from just having that sense healthcare check. Some people, have some skin issues that, that need to be addressed. And there's just, so a lot of these technologies that we wish to have, they can't happen because it's a bespoke solution within some respects. But just imagine, to go back to the example, imagine for a moment that you have an insect like leg just landing on you, or a body, whichever you want to imagine. And then it just senses your temperature and then sends it back through Bluetooth to your mobile device, or even if you want to call it a docking station, we can have that too as well. And it just basically just keeps track on a scheduled notion your health. And but the issue is that this would be for somebody who's like at home, right? It's not for somebody who's like on the go. So that's where Apple Watch, I think, will take over respectively. But they have pretty advanced stuff, like to the toilet, where they can test your urine and send it back on a Bluetooth chip and send it back to your doctor. So they can test all those things out, so they can see if you have kidney problems or whatever it may be. Everything that you're saying is correct, with the exception that you keep referring back to this doctor, right? Yeah. So I'm talking about if you got a lot of money, like this is not for like, no offense, this is not for like the community doctor, right? This is for people that have some money and they want to like invest in their healthcare. And I think that's what we're going to see this year, personally, because it's got to roll out sometime, especially now with this AI game. Like, they got to show their cards. Come on, I'm tired of seeing this like behind the scenes stuff. And then, here's the biggest problem, is that the biggest problem they have is that people at the end of the day, when you get older, you start to kind of like forget your vitamins and things you should be taking. And then furthermore, you don't want to take those. And so when you go to the doctor, the biggest problem that they have is like, did you take your vitamins? And so they have this solution where they have the nanobots within the vitamins, and they basically say, okay, did you take them? Yes or no? And that at the end of the day, there's no question about that. It's kind of like responsive healthcare. We already know. We don't have to ask you those stupid questions. We have the data in front of us, and we can assess your situation accordingly, right? Even maybe one could argue remotely. You don't even have to come to the doctor's office. But yeah, I don't want to go that far. But yes, so just imagine for a moment that you have sensors around you that can do the job that a doctor could, but it's at home or on the go. I mean, maybe we'll have drive-through sensor robotic things just flying out like the bank tellers, you know. And but yeah, that's really just another world. So
my stock's falling and it can't get up.
Spy.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've got those sentiment numbers. I was letting you guys go. If you like them, February the index of customer sentiment was 66.4, up from 64.9. Current economic conditions, the sentiment was 72.6, way up from 68.4 last month. Index of consumer expectations, though, was 62.3, down from 62.7. And then they have their 1 year and their 5-year outlook. The 1 year actually peaked up. It went from 3.9 to 4.2 year over year. So what they expect, they may actually see a little inflation go up next year, but the 5-year forecast went down. As soon as this came out, markets did take a dip. Bet accordingly. Thank you.
thank you for the update, and feel free to interrupt next time.
No, it was a good conversation. You know what I mean? I don't think it was necessarily.
Yeah, but I know this stuff in the back of my hand, so I don't need to I'm not like reading off a script here, so
no worries. Though I know the one time I was polite, my bad. There's more than that. I'm just best comedians are the most facetious, but anyhow.
No, I got you. Sorry. Ha ha ha. Is that better? Just joking. But yeah.
No, I'm an only child. I'm used to laughing by myself and with myself. And
dang, you took it there, huh? You took it there.
Yeah,
huh?
that AI date stuff's gonna be awesome this weekend. Anyhow, go ahead.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So what is that in summary? The CPI information. What do you feel about that?
Well, it's not CPI per se. This is the University of Michigan statistics, so it's the survey of consumers. But I think that's a little problematic, and I think that's what the market's really good at drilling down to the bad news, and just seeing that potential uptick. I think raised eyebrows. But again, this is sentiment, which I mean is important, but this isn't the data that comes out on Tuesday. So I mean, we're all consumers, but that's my 2 cents. I don't know if anyone else, how well other people look at these numbers, or if they have any feelings. Listen to me. Do you have any feelings about the stock market? This isn't therapy call.
What do you guys think about Bitcoin?
You probably don't have
That's a crypto, isn't it?
Personally, long-term bullish, short-term bearish, just because the FTX mess is going to take months and months to figure out, multiple governments involved, all the litigation, whatnot. But long-term, I think definitely bullish. It's a huge underbanked population in parts of South America, Africa, and Southeast Asia that still don't have routine, regular access to modern banks, and the aspect of being able to digitally store and transfer your currency seems to me like it has some viability down the road.
El Salvador mentioned that they paid off their $800 million of sovereign debt thanks to Bitcoin.
El Salvador got creamed. They bought a lot of Bitcoin when it was like at 45K. They got destroyed by it.
They've been buying all the way down, but and they've also made a lot of money on it. And like I said, there was a recent article where they said that thanks to Bitcoin, they were able to pay off $800 million of their sovereign debt. So it doesn't sound like they're doing too badly. I mean, right now, it's a good buying opportunity again, as always. Dollar cost averaging into it. Never look back.
Some of my stocks are looking a little green now. I love it. People digest the information. They go, wait a minute, is that not that bad?
Hello. Where'd
Yeah,
everyone go?
a little quiet in here, huh? I noticed.
What happened to the music? Let me fix that.
And Phage's energy is having a nice little rebound after getting creamed yesterday.
Do you have a position on Enphase?
Yeah, I bought that dip a little bit.
Hey guys, just wanted to say the S&P is moving a lot today. I've been in and out of it a few times, going for 5% returns on any type of options play that I've been making. Getting in and out within about 3 or 4 minutes is the play that I've been making. Really, I've just been looking. If you look at it, we get some really big candles. As soon as we get a really big candle movement, I hold at the top for about 30 seconds, and then I do the inverse of whatever that candle was. And that's what I've been doing. Yeah, just want to let you guys know what my plays are today.
Hey, opinion. I've been hearing the music the whole time.
Oh yeah, I hear it now too. It's weird.
Oh, so it was 70 degrees here in Pittsburgh yesterday. Today, it is 43, and I'm pretty sure it's going to snow later. So that's where we're at.
Wow.
Yeah, it sucks.
I put in what to do for Valentine's Day on the chat AI stuff. They said keep a heart on. LOL. Little F to you.
Hey, just curious, the guy in Pittsburgh, are you noticing any air quality issues over the last week with the train derailment?
So it's funny. I heard about the train derailment and then the burning, and I am south. Hold on a second. Sorry, I am what I believe that was northwest of us.
It was just south of Youngstown in East Palestine, and it was Norfolk Southern for anyone. NS.
Yeah, they did the burning, I think, on Monday, and then Tuesday I started feeling weird, and it was pretty hazy, and then I got the nastiest sinus issue right now. I mean, I was feeling fine up until then, and it's I don't know. I could definitely tell something was in the air. Like, it was really hazy. Like, whenever all those wildfires were happening in California, we got a lot of that smoke. It took like, I think 3 or 4 days. I can't remember, but I remember watching the weather, like it's going to be hazy from all these fires. Well, it was definitely hazy the day after they did all that burning. And then I had this nasty sinus issue. So I don't know what's going on, but personally, if that's the case, then yeah, I've been affected by it, but
No, and
maybe,
I've read it just seems interesting because unfortunately there was some strong arming of a reporter yesterday, and I'm in Central Ohio, so I know exactly what you're talking about. The haze from California fires that was definitely visible in the last couple of years. But I'm just looking at the risk to Norfolk because it's the vinyl chloride they had to burn, which was chemical we used in World War II for weapons. And they had to burn 5 cars of it, and I'm afraid that that town may not be livable. Again, I'm not a scientist, and who knows what they're really, what the issue was. But this was part of the rail strike too, was safety issues. Someone brought up the other day too, having less and less people on the trains. It wasn't just the price, or excuse me, their wages that they were striking for, or about to strike for last fall.
What railroad?
yeah, everyone's,
Norfolk Southern NS.
everyone's talking about the derailment. Like, how did the train derail? Was it going too fast, or what was going on?
And a lot of times with that, there's like a flat wheel or something, a bend in the line. That's how it started. And then just the fact of what they had to burn, and they had to put shape charges on that chloride, the vinyl chloride, or they were afraid of causing shrapnel. They were going to blow up. So didn't know if anyone was holding any of the rails, or especially NS. I just don't see this as good for them going forward.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be some issues. You would think there's going to be some issues from it in that area. But yeah, it wasn't good, that's for sure.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, because you're not the first person I've heard anecdotally that's had issues, if you will, in the last week. So stay safe, man.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. And like I said, I was feeling fine until then, and then I went to the hockey game Tuesday, and I right before then, I'm like, yeah, I feel a little weird, and then I woke up Wednesday, just felt like garbage. So I don't know if that's it, or if I'm just got a head cold. I have no idea. Could be linked, could not be. Who knows?
I'm in Detroit, and I haven't really noticed anything. But I mean, it rained yesterday all day.
And I think most of the wind patterns, that's why when you said Pittsburgh, I kind of peaked up, because I think most wind patterns through there go easterly or southeasterly. So you'd probably be quote unquote safe. It'd be blowing away from you in Detroit.
Yeah, I think it's only about 45 minutes from where I work, so it's not far. But I don't know.
Bottom line is vinyl chloride is a cancer-causing substance.
I mean, like, what isn't a cancer-causing substance now, though, right? Like, everything.
That is true.
I just have a question for you guys. I'm quite new here. I'm from New Zealand as well, so hi everybody who is from here or not from here. So I've been reading a little bit recently, sort of about the .com crash of 2001, 2002 sort of thing. And I'm just wondering, does anyone sort of feel like that could happen with the rise of AI, where it just becomes so kind of common that it loses all of its sorry, it's like 4:20 a.m. here, but like loses all of its sort of shine, I guess is the best way to put it.
Almost guaranteed.
I also thought that the .com crash was also because of the fact that companies were using R&D and expensing it a certain way that it looked better on their income statement than what was actually going on in the company. I could be mistaken.
Right. Yeah, no, I kind of get that. It's just interesting because everyone's kind of jumping on this bandwagon, and I personally think it's going to kind of mimic what was seen in 2002 for sure, but everyone's kind of like laughing at me in my friend group, so I thought I'd ask you guys.
No, you're absolutely right. The same thing is going to happen with that, and the same thing is going to happen with EVs. Like a lot of it's sort of a natural process in the evolution of something new like that. And there's going to be a lot of companies that are going to get into it. A lot of companies are going to fail. Eventually, after all the dust settles, there's going to be some companies that are going to emerge, and they're going to be the next Google, the next Facebook, the next Netflix in the AI space. But yeah, it's almost a given that that's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with the EV thing. I think as soon as something becomes common within consumerism, it's bound to just have a really regular market value.
And it's not just technology.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry,
it's not just technology. The same thing happened in the automobile industry back in the mid 1900s. At one time, there were over 200 U.S. car companies, and the automotive industry during the during industrialization, the automotive industry went through a consolidation. Some went bankrupt, some got acquired, and we were left at the end of the day. We were left with the big three, the big four, whoever you had. But it's sort of a natural process and evolution of new business and the maturation of a new market.
So if I can put my 2 cents in here, if you had anything to say, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all good.
Yeah, so I am completely opposite of all you. So personally, AI models have been around for the stock market for quite some time, respectively. And I think we should look at information before we look at artificial intelligence as being the say-all, end-all. And you have to also realize that the bubble, if you may, to go back to your point of case here, is that the bubble that you had back in the day was because there was a lot of unknown within that market, right? And now we're not in that unknown market. We are more in we know how AI can respond, and we know how it can adapt to society. I think that the issue that we have here, though, is that a lot of companies are going to use this as their backbone to get more in their earnings calls and say, hey, we're doing a lot of R&D. So I think Waffles was saying that they were pointing out that the R&D was what's really going to make them grow, and it turned out that they weren't really doing good research and development, right? And it went against them. But I think it's really not about AI at this point. It's really about adapting the models to actually make sense in our own lives. To say that we're not going to adapt that and we're not going to use artificial intelligence in our own lives to better understand ourselves, but also make things faster and allow us to have more workflow within the way we do things. I don't think that's gonna go against us, right? That's gonna be for a better lifestyle, and everyone's down for that. I would also argue that the stock market crashing, that sounds funny to me, considering the fact that the said stat is that 85% to 90% of the market is done by high frequency trading, right? And also the fact that you're seeing a push out for robo advisors, right? People just kind of want to put their money in and let it go, but people want to still show up to the table to gamble, right? Do I think that your points are wrong? No, I think that you have a valid point that maybe there could be an interruption and that certain sectors could immediately have a bubble in it. I think that's 100% correct to think like that. But I don't think you should put a blanket statement over the whole industries, as that would be a little bit premature to say, right? Because we are going to actually adopt this and adapt to it. I think before it wasn't like a sure thing. How do we adapt and adopt the internet, right? But yeah, I digress.
Well, although events of this week sort of counter what you're saying, because look at what happened to Google, right? They had a minor stumble as a result of that. Their stock price everyone all of a sudden just started selling off Google. So it's what you're saying is correct, but I don't think it's going to be as smooth and non how can I say it?
Well, you don't have to.
They might not get it right immediately, because the stuff that happened with Google, that was totally, ridiculous. What would happen to them just because of a news publication, because of a minor hiccup. And if something happens on a major scale where somebody gets killed because they made a decision based on AI, or if somebody gets injured based on AI, you could easily have, a huge downturn and people turn against AI.
I definitely agree with that. I think that we're not kind of factoring in people that are still sort of scared of the technological revolution, which is kind of ridiculous. I mean, it is everywhere. Most people use
Yep.
smartphones, but
Yep.
it's still something that can get quite overwhelming for a number of people, especially older people who do have a lot to do with the markets. So it's kind of one of those things I think we just have to wait and see, really, because everyone's got a different view on it. I mean, I work in tech, I love tech, but I do think sometimes that we aren't using it to the abilities that we could. It's kind of getting a bit gimmicky, and it's also running people out of jobs with the whole chat GPT thing, because now businesses can get people to write, things for them. They don't have to hire someone, and that just kind of fuels our unemployment crises all around the world. We have a terrible one in New Zealand. I'm not sure about in the States, but from what I've kind of read, I think it's a bit the same, and it always kind of has been that way in different areas of the world, but it's definitely getting worse. So, yeah, we can't really rule anything out at this stage. I think it's just better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, I just want to, and just as a caveat, with all due respect to everyone's opinion, fear mongering is like the worst thing to do. And I think that by calling out certain articles saying that it like positioned itself as being the benefactory of like the downfall for a company, or being the reason why that people pulled out of a stock or something, I think that's, with all due respect, a little laughable, because at the end of the day, an article is not a set all be all. It's just, but if you're looking for bias to why something went against you, then you're going to kind of believe into that. So I think it's very important to have an open mind, especially as you get into this automated world, and not to like really harness that fear mongering, with all due respect to your opinion, human genome.
Well, it's not fear mongering. It's not. It's events. I mean,
Well,
it's
no,
not
it is
fear mongering. It's what happened. I mean, it is what
Yeah.
happened.
101.
I mean, we're, hindsight is 2020. That it wasn't fear mongering on my part, and I'm not concerned
Neither
about
on
anything.
mine, not even close. I'm
Right.
speaking for people that necessarily aren't here, that I know for a fact don't like it, and they're still as much part of this conversation whether they're in the chat or not. So I
No,
think
I
it's just
understand
important to
And-
kind of take in all of that. And I'm not a fearmonger at all. I think I'd love to see how it plays out, but what I'm interested in seeing if it mimics what we saw, not like identically, but somewhat.
And other anecdotal evidence beyond the Google stuff. I had someone recently tell me, "Hey, I just gave ChatGPT a try to I wanted it to write like a headline, and I worked with it to shorten the headline to make it more impactful, this and that and the other, and ChatGPT gave me a really good headline that I thought was really good." And she was like, "Should I tell my coworkers that I'm using ChatGPT to help me do my job?" She was unsure whether she should let people know that, hey, I'm not really doing this work. I'm using ChatGPT to do the work, because if I'm using ChatGPT to do my work, then they don't really need me. So it's like they were unsure whether they should, announce the fact that they're using it. And there's that kind of reticence on behalf of some people to get involved with this stuff. So there's it's not just the Google article. There's other things that you see going on that cause people to not necessarily jump on this and think it's the latest and greatest. There could be some kickback.
Jack Ma
totally agree.
Jack Ma talked about this in 2005, I think it was, give or take, when they were really investing in AI technologies. And I was talking about human genome when you were talking about the Google article, and then Google. You guys can rewind the track and see what he's talking about there. But I'll say this for the record: Jack Ma said this even during 2005, during a one of those World Forum places. He said, "Look, at the end of the day, AI is going to come out, and when it does roll out, we're going to have to use creativity, and creativity is going to be the key to go forward if you're going to want this autonomous world." So I'm at the end of the day, that's something you got to look at, and something you're going to have to like really just keep an open mind to. That, yeah, of course we can write headlines and stuff, but this technology has been around forever. It's not. I think that the problem is that a lot of people are using it for the first time, and they're creating these. Because journalists have known that there's these like generating headline tools out there. That's been around forever. Like if you are truly in the journalism, you know that these tools have been there. They've been able to fix your grammar. They've been able to do all those
Sorry,
things.
not to jump in, but that whole story about BuzzFeed like a week and a half ago was exactly that. They got a 100% bump on old news of that.
And the other thing with the internet was around. The internet was around for 30 years prior to the .com bomb in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like the internet was around since the 60s and 70s, but it was not until 30 years later that it people misrepresented, like it was going to be the greatest thing. It's going to solve all the world's problems. The internet's going to solve all the world's problems. And everyone, if you had a .com at the back of your name, it's like your stock just went through the roof.
Hmm.
It was that irrational exuberance, like it was sort of the other side of the whole fear, uncertainty, the FUD. It was irrational exuberance about a technology and then when people realize that, hey, some of these companies are getting it wrong, some of them are getting it right, and then the ones that get it right, they're the ones that end up taking us into the future, and the ones that get it wrong are the ones that fall by the wayside. And like, I'm not fear mongering or anything, but I see the same thing happening with AI as well. Some companies are going to get it
Well,
right, some
Yep, I
companies are going to
agree.
get it wrong.
hold on. So do you see this exuberance though reflected in stock prices at the moment, or is it just
Yes.
been, everyday
Yeah,
discussion?
I mean, yeah, Big Bear AI went up like earlier this week. All the AI, like after this whole, in the last 2 weeks when all this information came out about ChatGPT and what was going on with it, all these AI companies, their stocks rose to new heights. Big Bear AI and all that kind of stuff. They all went up based on what was going on with ChatGPT. So yeah, you see that kind of irrational exuberance, even though people, like some people invested in BBAI and they had no idea what Big Bear AI does from an AI standpoint. They invested simply because it was an AI company. So yeah, there's been some irrational exuberance, and there's also been some irrational, whatever the opposite of exuberance is, regarding the Google article. So there's been irrational stuff that's
Okay.
going on.
Okay, hold on.
For
Sorry, you're really close to your mic. It's quite painful. Can you step away, or just get a different mic?
So if I may, I've really rung on this. So I think there's a couple things, if you don't mind. I think she's right to a point, and Human Genome is to a point where like AI, the company CAI3, their ticker is AI. Most certainly in the last month, where it's had this 120% rise, has people literally just typed in AI and hit bot, knowing nothing what they bought. So some of that is a little bubblicious. I think that is somewhat true in her thesis, but I don't think it's going to drag the market down. There may be a few false prophets out there, if you will, that really are not going to be at the leading edge of it, but the larger players and most companies are going to incorporate it, and or, as Elliot has said, have incorporated it and had it for years. Everyone thought the invent of the car was going to put people, I will say that the invent of the car was going to put people in the poorhouse. It's things do change. AI may change the way that people earn money. That's why Elon's point about using universal income, he brought that up almost 10 years ago when he saw the greater efficiencies. So greater than search, greater than the health stuff. I think there's a lot of things we haven't seen. So that's just my 2 cents on the matter. Thank you.
Can I
Thank
get a
you. That
mic
was
check?
cool.
Sorry, can I get a quick mic check? Is this better?
Very slightly, but still pretty.
What about this?
I think he's outside most of the time, so that you always have that interference. Not always.
No, I have a new headset that's got like a thing that goes down in front of your mouth for the mic, and I just need to figure out where to position it so it's not too loud.
Sounds a little bit quiet now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds like you're getting inside of a sock or something. So not good.
Hey,
Honestly, maybe. Oh, go ahead.
on the AI thing, real quick, I just wanted to point out that it could have a downside too. There's plenty of smart people like Elon Musk who have warned that AI could even be dangerous. If it becomes self-aware and starts replicating itself, that could be a huge setback to the AI market.
That's like super unlikely though. That is definitely fear mongering. The chances of that are pretty low. It's like the Chinese room theory. I think everybody's maybe heard of that, where you sit a guy in a room, you give him a book with Chinese characters in it, and then a note gets put under the door. He has to translate that note and then send a note out. That's his only purpose. That's all he does, and that's essentially what AI does. It only learns from what's being put into it. So unless somebody's like programming it with extremely hateful things or whatever, there's still not even much it can do because it's confined to its own program. That's kind of like sci-fi, like the AI is going to turn on us. I don't think it's that people are afraid of. I think it's writers and things like that, and even artists sometimes becoming obsolete, which can be quite a scary thing to think about.
Hey guys, if you want to learn about disruptive technology, the thought leader in that is Ray Kurzweil, and he studied disruptive technology like AI, solar, EVs, and he's famous for a paper he wrote called "The Law of Accelerated Returns." I just posted that in the comments, but if you're interested in that, that's probably one of the best places to start.
I think personally, I think one of the reasons why people seem to be some people are so adamantly resistant to any kind of artificial intelligence is, one, they think it's gonna like automatically put people out of work. Two, humans are flawed. So pretty much at some point, everything we make is flawed in one way or another. So, you know, it's definitely going to take time before it's to a point where, I mean, honestly, at some point, it would probably be better to actually take people out of the loop and just let the AI run itself, but with people to kind of, you know, sit back and make sure it doesn't try to kill us all.
Okay, I got to stop you there. Sorry. As someone who's been in AI for a very long time, I will just say this. Look, the shovel never got mad at the tractor. Okay. The wagon and the horse never got mad at the car. And the wagon didn't get mad at the airplane. Okay. So, yeah, at the end of the day, we as a world do know how to move forward. And yeah, I really appreciate everyone's comments at the end of the day.
I do want to add, though, to that analogy. Horse populations are down something like 90+% since, you know, cars came around. So I'm not sure if that's exactly the future we want for humans.
Well, yeah, I'm going to digress. But yeah, anyway.
No. Good
Horses
talk on
with
AI.
augmented reality. Oh, that's cool. Just kidding.
Oh, I wasn't saying that to you know, put it up as like I'm negative. Personally, I think it's, you know, it's great. You know, anything to make, you know, humans' lives easier. I mean, I'm all for that, man.
At what point do you draw the line between ease and laziness and losing sort of like self-autonomy because you've got a bunch of essentially crudely put robots doing it all for you? And I know I probably sound like a massive boomer, but that's not really what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if we rely too much on technology rather than using it to like advance us, we use it to just, you know, live our lives. I think that's when we get quite dangerous with the movements we're having in tech.
Yeah,
Which
but
that is
sorry,
that is an excellent point, and that's why these industry specific AIs are such a big deal, where you can target AI towards areas that humans can't do. And that's why my thesis on medicine and AI is what I'm very interested in, because even today there is no doctor in the world that can read my DNA, but AI can do it. So from that standpoint, there's like things that AI and robotics can do that there's no human, no matter how much training they've had, there's no human that can read and interpret my genetic profile.
Hey, Genome, your mic has some serious, like, airy sound. Hit mute.
Can I just say real quick, real seriously, guys? At the end of the day, if you're concerned that robots replacing humans, you got to really look up. Let's just go back to History 101, and I'll keep this very short and sweet to the point. History 101. America and Canada, argumentatively, started as a farming industrial place, and then we went to manufacturing, and then we went to let's go outsource everything, right? And then other countries took that off our backs, and then those countries adopted new lifestyles. I think people are tired of growing up on the farm, and that's all they do for the rest of their lives. And that's kind of a fact, right? For some of these countries, they kind of want to, you know, they don't want to be third world anymore. They want to be second world, first world countries. And so respect to them, it's helping them at the same time, right? It's helping us all grow. It's not just one nation taking a benefit from this. I would say, yeah, at the end of the day, there's things to, you know, change is fearing. Change is scary, right? At the end of the day. So I respect everyone's opinion, but at the same time, I know that no matter if I don't like it or not, I still have to invest in companies that are willing to, you know, grow and do things that are new and profound. And that's where R&D comes in hand. And we have to kind of just accept that life changes sometimes, and hopefully for the better. And thank you everyone for coming today to Wall Street Bets. I think Opinionist is like the best spot to like end it, with all due respect, just so we
Sure.
don't get into some black hole.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, in that case, yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you all. Psych, you thought I was going to say tomorrow. On Monday. Yeah. See you
AI is
all.
coming for you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.